if we talk about this prisoner release of 150 Palestinian women and children, this is something that the Palestinian Authority has pushed for and has asked for a long time. But you haven't been able to make it happen. And yet Hamas tonight is negotiating these deals.
This is exactly what it is about. This is why Palestinians support Hamas. Israel wants you to believe that Hamas is not a rational actor with clear political goals, but rather just a group of complete monsters motivated by nothing but pure evil. Listen to what the Israeli ambassador to the US had to say.
But let's be clear about this. The only reason Hamas is negotiating is because Israel went into that Gaza Strip militarily and forced it to negotiate. And without that pressure, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
His claim that the massive bombing campaign was necessary in order to get Hamas to negotiate is obviously false, since the deal they reached is very similar to the deals Hamas had been offering for weeks. It was Israel that wanted to destroy Gaza as much as possible before agreeing to negotiate. I believe the main purpose of the Hamas attack on the 7th of October was to take as many hostages as possible so that they could be used as leverage against Israel. I don't want to downplay Hamas's actions in any way, and killing civilians and taking hostages are war crimes and should be treated as such. What I'm trying to point out, though, is that even though Israel wants to claim that Hamas's horrible actions were purely driven by irrational hate of Jews, religious fundamentalism, and simply wickedness, there clearly was a political motivation behind Hamas's actions. Hamas is a nationalist Islamic movement. Unlike ISIS, Hamas is not fighting to establish an international caliphate. Israel wants to generate fear in the West by implying that if they don't kill all members of Hamas, they will attack your country next. Even though in its decades of existence, Hamas has never seemed to have that kind of goals. Hamas made it clear from the beginning that what they want is to exchange prisoners. In 2011, Israel freed over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for one single Israeli soldier. I assumed Hamas expected Israel to be willing to negotiate sooner, but instead, before the current truce was reached, Israel has turned down any deal Hamas has offered, and instead claimed that it will get hostages freed by relentless bombing campaign. This idea obviously doesn't make much sense unless Israel doesn't care if the hostages die from Israeli rockets. Israel has even refused to receive hostages that have been directly offered to them for humanitarian reasons by Hamas or Islamic Jihad. It's hard for me to understand how Israel manages to justify to its citizens why it acts in ways that are more likely to get hostages killed, when Hamas has consistently expressed that they are open for negotiations. Imagine that your home was raided in the middle of the night and your underage child was taken by soldiers. They blindfold and beat the child. Your child is kept imprisoned without charges or trial, without allowing you to visit the child. You're just told that your child is a security threat, but you or your child have no idea why. No one knows how long your child will be kept imprisoned. The political party you support has tried to change the situation for a long time, with no success. Now, a militant group of another party you generally disagree with manages to take captives of the other side, and through prisoner exchange, they manage to get your child free. In all honesty, would you not feel any kind of sympathy for said party? And this is reality to many Palestinians, as there are currently over 2,000 Palestinians in indefinite administrative detention without charges or trial. And a study by Save the Children has revealed that many underage Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails are beaten and abused. Palestinians are expected to always have some moral high ground and never feel any hate for Israelis and never support any violent actions, despite the fact that many Israelis support violent actions against Palestinians. Israel has made sure that Palestinians can't get justice through peaceful actions. So how can you expect them to be strictly against any militant actions against those they understandably consider enemies? Israel justifies the occupation and killing civilians by saying that Palestinians support Hamas without questioning how Israel's own actions might drive people to support Hamas. With the same logic, Israelis who support Netanyahu's far-right government, and since Israel is supposedly a democracy, that should be the majority of people, should be fair targets of Palestinians' militant resistance.
If Hamas enjoys their support of 65% of the people in Gaza, then what is happening is their fault? Did all Germans kill Jews and Russian prisoners of war? No, but they were all responsible for it. It's the same with the Palestinians.
Or, following the logic of those who compare Palestinian civilians to innocent Nazi civilians, all Israelis should be legitimate targets. Personally, I obviously don't think that's the case. An interviewer asked the ambassador of the Palestinian Authority to the UK, Hussam Somlot, about PA's role when Hamas has managed to make Israel release Palestinian captives, after PA has pushed for it for a long time with no success. But what can he say? That PA should also take hostages, since that's the only language Israel understands?
If we talk about this prisoner release of 150 Palestinian women and children, this is something that the Palestinian Authority has pushed for and has asked for a long time. But you haven't been able to make it happen. And yet Hamas tonight is negotiating these deals, negotiating for these prisoners to be released, calling the shots, speaking to the Qataris, speaking to the Egyptians. What is your role in all of this?
Of course, Israel has been clear, public. Netanyahu is public. They have been very adamant, clear on their goal to undermine the Palestinian national institutions, the PLO, the Palestinian National Authority, the PNA, and they were absolutely clear in feeding and keeping and maintaining the division geographically and politically. And Netanyahu said they will never allow for the Palestinian Authority to return to Gaza, and he and his government have been absolutely busy
Someone
cutting.
does need to govern Gaza post this conflict.
Yelda, this could not be seen partially. This isn't about Hamas or Fatah or the PLO. This is about an overall aggression and an overall strategy that has been with us for more than a quarter of a century since Netanyahu has taken power.
This is exactly what it is about. This is why Palestinians support Hamas. Is it surprising when they have seen that a non-violent approach leads to nowhere? Because what the Palestinian Authority hasn't been able to achieve peacefully, Hamas has achieved by force.